So, Barbara, the next stage of your life, so we'll jump forward a little bit. So, post uni, you moved to Hong Kong for a couple of years. Firstly, tell us why you went, and I guess tell us a little bit about the experience.
I moved to Hong Kong pretty much a year after uni, and that was basically stemmed off obligation. So, grandma was moving with my uncle and auntie back in Hong Kong that stayed there. And basically they were like, well, grandma's looked after you your whole life, so you need to give back now. And to sum it all up, basically, they guilt-tripped me to going into Hong Kong using my grandma. And I felt a strong obligation to look after her as well, because she has Alzheimer's and dementia. So I was just like, okay, I'll just go with you as a short holiday. Remember? But yeah, a short holiday became a 4-year lifespan. But I went there, looked after my grandma, and eventually I got a job there.
Yeah, I was going to say, so you left here, so this is maybe a year or two after you graduated uni?
Yeah.
Did you have a job here?
I had a job here, even though it wasn't what my degree was in, but as a medical receptionist.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and I didn't mind it. It paid me money, and I didn't have much goals, I guess, in life or aspirations. And I felt like, I'm still working, and I'm still doing what a human does: earn money to spend money. But it wasn't like big goals and anything, but at least I was doing something and not just sitting at home playing games,
Yeah. So you went over there with basically nothing in terms of no plan. You were just going to help take care of your grandmother.
So the story basically goes like this. I was still working. My family, so my uncle and auntie, they moved here with their 3 children, hoping to come to Australia. Didn't like it, so they moved back. And at the same time, they wanted to look after my grandma, so they decided to take her with her. But at the same time, they're because they moved here, they had sold everything in Hong Kong, and they had to pretty much find a new house, find new schools for the kids and everything. And they didn't have their helpers anymore because they had fired them all before leaving. So they had to do a long process to find all these stuff, right? But how could they do all that while looking after my grandma who has dementia? It's difficult. So they proposed an idea that I went on a holiday to Hong Kong. And I was just like, but what about work? And they're like, you can just drop that, it's easy. And I'm just like, but no, you can't do that. I'm still working, even though it might not be my actual career, but I'm still working. It's an obligation to fulfill, you signed up to someone, you're working. But then they put it in my head that it's just you could find a better career in Hong Kong. You can experience. It's all about the experience. Go there, do things. When I started with saying no, they're like, okay, but you got to look after grandma. It's an obligation, to give back. And eventually that kind of ate up at me. And I thought about it. And I was just like, oh yeah, grandma has done really well for us. And so I really do need to give back to her and look after her in a time of need. So that's how I ended up in Hong Kong, basically, for 4 or 5 years.